last game for today, Scorecard.ai. And then, by the way, after this, everyone will get a chance to meet.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. So we are Scorecard.ai, and we're building automated evaluation and testing of AI products. So I'm Darius, this is Jesse, and we're a team that has deep experience in the evaluation of large-scale deployments of AI. So until now, ML has really been only deployed at large organizations, and we've seen this consistent pattern building systems of ML at YouTube, Google, Uber, and even more so, we're actually, the building the model is the easy part. The hard part is evaluating the system and understanding if you have the confidence to actually launch. And in fact, at Waymo, fully half the company works on this kind of evaluation. And with LLMs, this problem is actually dramatically worse. So LLMs have amazing capabilities, but they're actually even more unpredictable. And we've seen these cases where they do an incredible job of answering queries, but also where they go completely off the rails, even with just small changes to the prompt. There was one customer we talked to where they added a space to the prompt and it dramatically tanked the performance. And so you can even look at these examples where some of the most sophisticated build builders are having trouble. This is Stanford, OpenAI, Meta. Like this is really because fundamentally generative AI is hard to test. And so we really see evaluation as a huge opportunity. We've spoken to a number of different customers, and we're going to walk through three specific examples: one in customer service, another in healthcare, and another in legal, and talk about their pain points. So the first example is the customer service agent. So here, walking through the developer process, it's basically ad hoc, non-repeatable testing. The developer will spend hours conducting full conversations to just to get qualitative feedback. And what does this mean for their business? It means that they lose time and sleep over undiscovered bugs. They don't actually know if there are bugs or not, and they're really unable to measure and improve the product. Jumping to healthcare, there's another company where it's user-facing, so you have users interacting with the health app. Here, the developer is creating a new prompt, and they run 5 to 10 examples in a spreadsheet, manually grade those examples, and then sometimes if they need expert review, they'll wait days to hours to days to basically get that feedback. And for an important space where quality matters, this is actually blocking them from launching their product. And then finally, another company we talked to is in the legal AI tech space, and they obviously have a high bar for quality. And here, same story. Developers are manually curating small sets of queries. They make changes to the prompt, and then they manually exit, manually evaluate, and really they have no way to confidently know that if they're improving the product or not. And here's what that testing actually looks like. So you have a spreadsheet, you have user queries, you run it against the system, you have the AI response, and then you have the developer literally manually writing down their impressions of the system and then labeling those outputs. And this is crazy. Like if you go back to the past 20 years, we've built these sophisticated these sophisticated CI/CD systems that can test traditional software. But given the state of the world, it's like we've gone back to 1999 and we're doing manual testing. And this problem is widespread. So we've done a market survey across different AI companies, and this problem from one of the AI founders, they said this is what's really slowing them down. And many of the companies that we spoke to basically said this is the biggest barrier to rapid deployment of AI tech. And so we believe there's a better way. So just zooming in a little bit to the problem, this is kind of what the loop looks like. You have manual execution by the developer, manual review by the developer, and even if you have a small set of like 50, 60 examples and you spend a minute or two each, that quickly adds up to 2 hours of dev time, which this is just a single iteration. So if you do multiple iterations, we're talking days. So what we believe is the solution is Scorecard.ai. And this involves automated execution and automated review, and doing that entire loop managed by the developer on the order of minutes. So fundamentally, that's what Scorecard.ai is. It's an automated AI product evaluation platform that accelerates AI development through lower cost, lower latency, and faster time to launch. So Jesse, could you walk us through how all this works?
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay? This is live? All right, cool. So you've seen the manual execution loop and how painful that is. You've seen how it can get a lot better. So let's walk through this in person. So we're going back to our legal example here. And we want to make this really easy for the developer to onboard. So instead of asking for 100 or 1,000 examples in a CSV, we're just asking for a few exemplars here. And then we're going to help the developer actually come up with new test cases. They could be like adversarial, they could be the normal path, they could be things that they might not have thought of, like accessibility. And once they're happy with that, and they can keep iterating, then they can go ahead and save this test set, and then they can run it. Cool. So what's going on here? We're taking batches of queries and we're sending them to your test endpoint. So we're testing your real production system. That could be LLM, that could be LLM plus retrieval plus business logic. So you don't have to replicate your entire setup in a playground. And as you can see, we have these metrics up there: relevance, grammar, bias. And these are default metrics that cover most of the relevant criteria, but we're more than happy to let the customer customize their own metrics for their own product. And you can see, like in this example, we've already caught some pretty subtle errors, either in grammar and helpfulness. Cool. But this isn't enough. This takes out the whole spreadsheet of the process. This takes out the manual review, which is great. But we just need one place to answer the question: how good is the model? And ta-da, scorecard. We're taking these same metrics and we're aggregating across all the examples and giving a really simple, green, red to tell you if the model's regressed, if it's getting better. And so in one place, you can take this to your stakeholders, and you can launch faster and with more confidence. Cool. Let's get back to the slides. So yeah, the bottom line, we're really focused on evaluation, and only focused on evaluation because it's such a hard problem. Because of that, you can get a really high quality core product with the data set expansion and automated evaluation already saving you a bunch of time. But you can dig a little bit deeper and you can get these things that actually come kind of like for free: regression testing, red teaming, and prompt injection testing. So you can actually address those core problems of not having those catastrophic failures. And then we're just trying to make this as easy as possible. We've talked to a lot of developers. They don't want to go through a lot of upfront costs, so we want to onboard as little as an hour in a real production system. And so by using LLM graded evaluation, we offer a really scalable solution with minimal cost latency. And we also get some long-term advantages. So one is the data flywheel. Every time we do runs, we learn more and more about user cases, and then we can develop models over time that improve. We're also doing some interesting things like meta evaluation and multi-agent ensemble to get better quality and show the users what we're doing. And then, yeah, another approach is that we're just going to be really customer focused. Let them define the metrics and then turn those metrics and turn those runs into custom models. Why now? I mean, the first one's obvious. There's like a birth of hundreds of thousands of new startups. A lot of them are new to ML and don't really know how to build this kind of thing in-house. Founders we talked to said that quality is like their biggest competitive edge, right? So they're saying they need this and they want to be able to ship faster with more confidence. And the second thing is actually more about the solution than the problem. So this, funnily enough, LLMs are the problem, but they're also the solution here. LLM graded eval is like an emergent capability and is like now the standard that we see in research. So we're really inspired by this and want to take it even further. So deploying models is very easy. Making them work is really hard. Validating them is very hard. When we were working on solving the self-driving problem, we saw that it's actually like an interaction problem, right? It's really hard to understand what other human drivers are doing. And that's actually what you spend a lot of time doing, is building models of other human drivers because you're interacting with them. And guess what? A lot of these conversational products are just that. You're interacting with other customers. You don't know what to expect. And so the long-term vision is that we collect more and more data, and we can basically simulate actors in legal or in customer service, and basically role play the other side so you can test those interactions. Yeah, I mean, there's a small trend in new AI startups, and we're making a bet that AI will do all right. So as a little company, if we help them all scale and if we produce a little marginal value for all of them, we think that we can capture a little bit of a lot of companies. And luckily, those companies are pretty willing to give feedback and experiment with us. We know a lot of people just personally. So we're targeting these high growth startups where we can take them from prototype to deployment and to scaling, where they'll need some of this robustness. Yeah, so to recap our thesis, there's rapid adoption of LLMs. They're going into production really fast. They're scaling really fast, but they still fail in really unpredictable ways, which means you need a completely different testing paradigm. We think that every AI company will need this robust evaluation and will probably be willing to pay for it. But we'd love to hear your thoughts. If you or someone you know is facing the problem right now, we would definitely love to chat and we'll make time. And finally, thanks to the Inception Studio team. We had a great time. Thanks to John, Mike, Jesse, donors. Thanks to Conviction for hosting us. And yeah, thank you all for your time. So with that, we'll take questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay. Any questions in the room or on Zoom? I see one in the back. Let's.
Hey, John, can I shoot on here? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Hey, very nice presentation. There's a colleague of mine, I'm a professor at the University of Texas. There's a colleague of mine whose research area is this area. So if I can get in touch, get you guys in touch, I think he would, because he works in this field, he'd be interested in talking to you.
Yeah, and I think you said there's a professor kind of doing this research. Yeah, I think that's one of the big advantages is leveraging that kind of cutting edge research. So yeah, appreciate the intro.
Yes, and he's pretty interested in working this area long term. So there may be a long-term collaboration. It'd be good to get your contact. Let me put my contact information in the chat here.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, we'll look for that. We also have the Twitter Scorecard.ai, where you can message John as well. Thank you so much.
Oh, person on Zoom, could you just put the professor's name into chat too? What's the name of the professor? Because I'm a professor, so I want to Google them. Okay, perfect.
It is Shiram. Well, there you go.
But name of the, okay, perfect, thanks.
Who sorry, who was that? I'm sorry, I didn't, it's my name.
Okay, any other questions on Zoom? Not maybe the live one? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this is great. And for context, I'm a professor in AI and also applying it to railroad products, so human interaction. Just some advice for everyone. I shouldn't say this on the record, but professors in AI are not actually the ones who are going to help you build products. They're going to come up with fantastic algorithms and all of that. But building a product requires making a human being use it. What does a professor in AI know about human beings? I'm being a bit blunt or rude, you know, and I'll say it's my best friends for professors in AI. They don't. What you want is people who know how to actually put algorithms into practice. So look for robotics professors. Look for people in human interaction who do AI work. Look for mechanical and industrial engineering, because the challenge is actually not actually technology. It's actually going to be getting it to be used for real world cases. Look for psychology professors who have some AI background. So that's my high level advice. One thing I would say is this is a really good problem. There are lots of ways you can improve it, but I think this is very impressive because you're exactly right. The smartest people in the world are just hacking stuff into GPT and seeing if it works. Is this a joke? What you need is actually systematic ways to evaluate them. So I think it's a great problem. And what's nice about it is it's not a market you can corner easily. Uber and Lyft can shut people out, but no one can shut you out, right? My one advice would be, we have a paper I can share with you. It's on my website, josephjones.com/papers, but it's by one of my PhD students. And it's actually about doing experiments to do prompt engineering. So the idea is everyone does prompt engineering and how they evaluate it, do a bunch of stuff. But the challenging thing is with conversations, you can have a prompt, but then you might want to see hundreds of people use it. So the paper basically shows a case study where we do it for a chatbot for mental well-being. And so what you do is you do a mechanical Turk experiment. You design prompts and you run many different versions, and you actually let it out with 1,000, 2,000 people. So a thought for you is, if your scorecard could explore something like that, how you set up an end-to-end service where someone can evaluate real human beings using crowdsourcing, that would be something pretty unique.
That's brilliant. Just any thoughts on that? Or?
Oh yeah, that's definitely an angle we want to explore. So we'd love to chat more.
Yeah. Any other questions here in the room? Let's go over here.
Thanks. Hi, Alex Emmer. Super huge area. If you're able to make a lot of headway, like super obviously like the number one thing when you read papers, people are always talking about. Interested in if you have any anecdotes about sorts of improvements that you're able to get doing the system. Yeah.
Sorry.
Like
the
if
question-
there's specific examples you can think of when you're, I don't know if you have like, you're doing it with a code system or, you know, some other sorts of problems, and then you're going through this feedback mechanism, and then it's like, okay, this was identified as doing better in one system versus another. And that did line up with the human expert, whether it's you guys manually tagging or something you're able to find.
Yeah, so a couple parts. The 4 use cases we mentioned are folks that we are talking to, and but we haven't been able to test on their data yet. But the second part on agreeing with the humans, that's actually like an existing problem that they have right now. Is they'll go to different humans, and because of the subjectivity, they don't align either. So it's definitely something that we can help with operationalize into criteria, and then using models for. And I hope that addresses part of the question.
Hi, I'm Lisa again. For your, I think first, I think this product and idea is very wonderful and also very useful. So back to your previous, like the architecture for this application, I think you have basically you have like a 2 block. So one side is developer, another side is like an AI product. And for the current situation in the market, the AI product, they're more likely on the cloud. So for this application, I think it's in the middle of the cloud and the developers work. My question is like for the final product, do you plan to run it on cloud or on premise, like on edge device? And do you have any kind of like a projection on these 2 options? Thank you.
It's like, if I
Yeah.
understand.
So yeah, cloud or on-prem, like for your product, what do you think?
Yeah, so I mean, the honest truth is that the mechanism is something that we want to climb on and get the best quality. So likely cloud, but everything underneath the hood can be like tuned for a particular user, and it's something that like is kind of like a fungible piece of the system that we want to keep improving. So I hope that helps.
Yeah,
It's hard to predict where things are going, honestly.
Yeah, I think related to this is like, we'll use the best of what's available. So one of the concepts is using ensemble, right? So there may be a world where we're forced into using local if that's what people want, but obviously the best is to use a cloud-based system.
Cool. Sure.
I found this to be really interesting, and I was wondering what parameter does your product rely on to test the efficacy of the LLM? And is this process still done manually?
So the question was, what parameters are used to test the LLM for the evaluation or the user's LLM?
Because your product is like evaluating the LLM.
Yes.
So what parameter do you evaluate it?
Yeah, so I hope this answers the question, but in the demo we use some examples, which folks have told us are helpful: relevance, grammar, bias, helpfulness. But really, it's kind of like a product question, right? And so the loop kind of looks like going to the developers and going to the product owners and finding out what their criteria are and working with them to refine those so that we can get them reliably and make sure that it works with our system. Does that help? Thanks.
Thank you guys very much. It was a wonderful presentation. I actually had the other question that was just asked. It seems like there's going to be a diverse array of types of things that are being evaluated by your product potentially. How do we know that it's reliable?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we want to use the baseline is there is actually a bunch of this original label data, and
Okay.
reliability again has differing definitions.
Sure.
So the best is probably like consistency of like what people have looked at before, and we also believe that there's a reason that the human developer is still going to be involved in managing the process.
Yeah.
Like they still need to build up trust, so they're probably going to do spot checks. And there's also a world where we kind of do aggregate filtering and say, hey, these cases, you're totally fine, and these maybe do some reviewing. So it's going to be an iterative process. The answer.
Thank you. That's helpful.
I think time for one more question, and then you guys can talk to each of the teams. So any other questions in the room?
Do you address iterative questioning and how to manage the testing of that when it's not just one question, but a series or even editing of earlier questions to see how it progresses?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you're talking about like multi-turn conversations in a conversational test. Yeah, that's definitely an extension. It's not what we have in the demo, But it is something that we've heard as requests and would be a natural extension to this. I think the second part about where you're getting to is like having logs and then modifying them, right, to test out variations. And that's also an easy way to bootstrap data. So yeah, yes and yes, we would definitely want to do that. I think, yeah, great.
Cool. Okay, let's thank our team.
Thanks, guys.
There.